Hello everybody, Russian Batman here, back with another video, and today we got another random rants. Yeah, talking about kind of Lego prices and more Lego in general. But yeah, sorry, like I said, that I know you guys don't really watch a lot of these random rants, but it gives me a good excuse to especially with these like kind of lower effort videos. It gives me more time to make the higher effort ones, I would say. I know that might just sound like an excuse, like, oh, he's just making, easy videos to, just to release them. But, it gives me, if I really, it means that you guys still get content, which, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm going to continue probably doing random rants because I kind of like ranting. Um, but yeah, so let's talk about Lego. Let's talk about Lego and their prices recently. Now, I'm not talking about Lego's price increase. That doesn't really have much to actually do with Lego. I am more talking about just Lego in general releasing more expensive, like intentionally making more expensive stuff and releasing it. And kind of my thoughts on it in general. And this is kind of popping up, this conversation is kind of popping up due to the Hulkbuster, the new Hulkbuster that came out, which is definitely a great example of this idea of bigger is better not being better, right? It's definitely like when I first heard of the rumor of the Hulkbuster, I was actually not gonna lie, I was pretty excited. I do like the 2018 Hulkbuster. I have that, and I do think it's a really good set. It's not super accurate to the film. It could have been more accurate, but the general proportions, I think, are. If you just look at the proportions of the old one, I definitely think it's a lot better than this new one. And the new one is not necessarily bad. Well, it is pretty bad, especially when I saw the reviews and how flimsy parts of it are. But like I said, it's just not right. And it just doesn't seem like Lego uh not didn't like yeah, it seems like they kind of copped out with it, and it could have been really good, but for whatever reason it's just not. It's inaccurate, and yeah, and stuff like that. But I think the more pressing issue, it's not that it looks slightly off, because we've always had Lego sets that looks off slightly. Even like I said, the original Hulkbuster kind of looked a little bit off. And there's a good example of a lot of sets that don't look quite right. But I think the major issue people have with this one, I feel like I would have gotten this set, if it wasn't for obviously the big price tag, which again, this set is $500, and same with a. It seems like a lot of more recent Lego sets. It seems like they've been releasing a lot more just expensive sets. You had the lighthouse. And it seems like they were releasing a lot quicker too. You had the lighthouse. You had the Egyptian, the pyramid. You had all these. They're releasing more and more. It feels like because like before, it's like the biggest set was the what was it called? It was like the Taj Mahal. I don't know. There was some like thing that was the biggest set, and then it got beaten out by the Millennium Falcon. Okay, but then shortly after it got beaten out by I don't remember what it was, another set, and then now I think the technical biggest set is the or at least you know part wise is the world map, and now it seems like everything is trying to be the next like really big Lego thing, um, and yeah, and I personally don't mind it in concept. It obviously does become an issue, right, when they release stuff like the Hulkbuster, where it's just something that just doesn't work. Yeah, not just doesn't work in concept, just the execution is good. I personally think a Hulkbuster of that scale could look really cool on a shelf, and but I just don't think they pulled it off. I think Marvel, they've done some really good builds. Like I really like the Thor's hammer, which is really good, and that one is especially compared to all these other UCS. That one is like it's very big, it's very sturdy, and that one was like what $100 so. So not as expensive as a lot of the other ones. Like I'm looking at it right now. It's right next to my it's a lot bigger and looks bulkier than I have the Optimus Prime, and it's I think cheaper than the Optimus Prime, or if I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken on that, or at least around the same price, and it looks way bigger, right, and kind of cooler. I like the Thor's hammer. I think it's a cool set. I know a lot of people think it's a little basic, but I think it's really cool. But Yeah, and especially, and I think another example of just the big, the them releasing big sets is another Marvel set, which is the Black Panther one. Which I feel it's not an example of the execution being bad. I feel like that's more of an example of the kind of concept not being great. No, I don't think the concept. What I mean by that, it's very strange. Like I said, the set build wise looks great. I've heard there's like little parts where they have colors peeking out, which isn't that great for such an expensive set. Um, but the concept in general is a bit weird because it doesn't seem super appealing, right? Because out of all the Marvel characters, it's Black Panther gets this huge $500 bust, while the rest get these cheaper busts. It seems a bit, I don't know, out of place. I guess you got the new Black Panther movie coming out, but it doesn't even have that same T'Challa suit, or the same suit as they're depicting. So it seems a bit weird in concept, right? It's a great looking set. It's not that it's not recognizable. It's just not something that's like as iconic as if it was, like I don't know, like a giant, like a Batman one or an Iron Man. Even if it was a giant Batman Iron Man, I probably wouldn't get it because again, it is just kind of a big, like a head, like it's a bust. Like at that point, I feel like with a big bust, why not just like I said, get a real bust. I don't know, because especially like what is that, $200 I thought that was expensive. Then the Hulkbuster comes around, it's like yeah, 500. So there's definitely this, and I feel like yeah, in general, I think these more expensive sets are pretty good. I think Marvel's definitely flopping on it because, like I said, Marvel's just kind of like so I think the Hulkbuster is an example of a not super thought out concept. I mean, like the set looks great, but does anyone really have the motivation to have a giant Black Panther head that is over $200? Like I just don't see it. Like you got the the ship that came out. What's it called? The Mando's ship. I don't remember the name of it. That came out, and that's like what $500 and that's like a recognizable ship, and there's a reason for that to be big. Minifigure scale, all these other things, where it's like a big recognizable thing. Where just Black Panther's head, you're like, okay, it looks cool, but yeah. But yeah, that's my thought on that. And yeah, and they've also been releasing a lot more kind of, I would say like one-off big sets, which I think are probably the best. When Lego releases like a big set that's not supposed to be part of like this big thing, like a Marvel theme or whatnot, it's like a new thing where they just kind of release it and it is what it is, right? Like a good example is the NES, and then also I mentioned Optimus Prime, where it's like it's not releasing with a big theme. It's just kind of releasing on its own, and then yeah, just to kind of be its own thing. And when they do that, I think those are some of the best because because it's the only selling point is the design, right? You can't have a poor design with those. If you do, then no one's gonna buy it. It's just like name recognition, where they can't do that because they don't have other sets from the theme. It's like the only thing representing the theme. So if it's the only thing, it has to be good, which I think is definitely a good thing. I don't have the oh, did I say NES? I meant to say the Atari. But also like I think also I do really like all the big Nintendo sets too. Although it's connected to Lego's been doing a lot more Mario. Or I guess not Nintendo. I guess to say Mario because it's all Mario based. Those sets I think are great as well. And obviously those aren't super like standalone because you have the other Mario sets, but they're not like connected to the other Mario sets, if that makes sense. Like they're not they do incorporate a little bit of the Mario play feature, but it's not like it's a course building set, but like ginormous, right? It's like its own thing that you don't really need the course building system for, right? You have the what's it called? It's the first one that came out, the NES, phenomenal. I love that set. Okay, the play feature alone with the TV is great. And then also you get like an NES on it as well, which I think is really cool. You get these old consoles. We'll see if they actually make more of these console sets in the future. I don't think the Atari works as well, but the Atari definitely does look cool. I'm not as big of a fan of the Atari. Like I said, I'm a big Nintendo guy. But yeah. And yeah, so that set was great. And then the block set, it's weird because, you know, with like Lego fans, I don't see a lot of Lego people talking about it that much as a great set. But outside of Lego, there are like when I see like Nintendo YouTubers, it's like every single one of them has the block, right? I always see tons of people that like tons of YouTubers that aren't like Lego YouTubers that they always have the Nintendo the block, which is shocking to me. So like even with that, like I think that demonstrates another reason why they're doing these big sets is because they appeal to people that aren't necessarily Lego fans, right? They appeal to people that want just a cool display model. Because, you know, with Lego fans, if they're just appealing to Lego fans, then they're going to make, you know, minifigure scale, right? These small little things, you know, like I said, minifigure scale, you know, add in some more minifigures, right? You know, all these things that, you know, Lego fans really like, you know, the focus on minifigures, the focus on it being minifigure scale, smaller things, the focus on it being a playset, which a lot of Lego fans really like. But if you look out like more broadly to people that aren't fans of Lego, not a lot of people are going to like that. They're going to see that as like, oh, like, you know, it's a toy, which, you know, let's be real, that's what Lego is. It's a toy, but now they're trying to go, you know, more out to, like I said, appeal to people that wouldn't normally buy Lego. And I think that's a major reason why they're doing these more expensive, like I said, 18 plus stuff, is so that all the, you know, the people that would have just saw it and been like, you know, because you got, you know, maybe not everyone would have bought the the tumbler. It released a minifigure scale tumbler, right? If a fan of the Batman, right, or not the you know, the Batman trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, right? They walk into a store and they see this little tumbler and they think, oh, you know, that's a toy, right? They see the UCS tumbler and like, oh, that's a model I can display and show off, and that looks cool. I want people to see that, to show that I am a fan, not of Lego, but to show that I am a fan of the Dark Knight trilogy, right? And I think that's, like I said, the major reason why Lego is doing this, and I think it works for a lot of the time. You know, sometimes, like I said, they are having fumbles, but a lot of the time it does work. Now the frequency is a bit much, especially for, you know, consumers. That it's definitely hard for Lego fans, I would say, because the frequency of which they're releasing it is definitely a lot. It feels like every other day or something. You know, there's always there's a new Lego thing there's a new big Lego thing, the next biggest Lego thing that's, you know, we had the UCS Razor Crest and the Hulkbuster, both like over $500, you know, and it feels like everything's trying to be so. For Lego collectors, it's not great because it means like every time you go to get the next big thing, you're spending over $100 bucks for a singular set, right? But it works, I think, immensely for the casual fans that, you know, that aren't really in it because they're a big Lego enjoyer, but because they're a big fan of whatever particular one-off franchise or one-off thing that's being represented in this big set. And I think, yeah, that's my opinion. And especially, yeah, you got the Back to the Future DeLorean. I love that set. I have it here. But yeah, and then also one thing I also want to talk about is the minifigures. Because that's a big thing, you know, Lego fans are debating over. You know, especially with this Hulkbuster. A great example, the minifigures, obviously, you know, in this set, in that set in particular, isn't great. You know, it's a Tony Stark and the only exclusive thing is the torso, but even so, I'm pretty sure it's just a reprint of an existing print just on a gray torso, which obviously, you know, doesn't look great, you know, especially for a $500 set. It's, yeah, probably, you know, terrible for the price you're paying for the set. But however, with that being said, let me be 100% honest with y'all. I don't think the minifigures matter at all. like 0%. Like, okay, listen. Let's say the Hulkbuster set was great, okay, or whatever. Let's just say the Hulkbuster set is a great model, right? It would not make any in the same price. Would not make a single difference to me whether or not that Tony Stark minifigure was the best Tony Stark minifigure known to man, or if it was the same one. Okay, for me personally, when you are spending over what $100 the minifigures should not be in account at all, because you're not paying for the minifigure. You are paying for this big cool model. Okay, and I know, like I said, a lot of people are big minifigure. I am personally a really big minifigure guy. Go watch the channel. I customize, like I said, minifigures all the time. Personally, like I said, I think maybe because I customize and it doesn't really matter because I can change the color and whatnot, do this, do that. You know, I'm not afraid of being purist, or not being purist, but like I said, it just doesn't matter with such a large set, and especially like when I have those minifigures and I have them on like the little display pack they came in, like the Jurassic Park set, the big one with the T-Rex. I love that set. The minifigures, I have them on display for a little bit, but eventually I just scavenge for parts, right? Even though like, oh, but they're expensive, they're this, that, they come from a big set, they're exclusive. It doesn't matter. A minifigure part is a minifigure part, okay? It's gonna sit there, and like so when people go to see this set displayed, they're not gonna like look at the tiny little figures and be like, whoa, that's cool. They're gonna look at this big T-Rex and this big giant gate and be like, that's cool. Like, the whole point of displaying these sets is not to see these tiny figures. It's to see the big set. So, like I said, even if that Jurassic Park set came with no minifigures, would not make a single difference to me. If, the Back to the Future DeLorean, if that came with no minifigures, would not make a difference to me. I would not buy it regardless. I know a lot of people say, well, these are high quality sets. We might as well get a good figure. Why can't we get a good figure with these high quality sets? It doesn't. To me, this is like I said, this is my opinion, but to me personally, a minifigure if you're talking about a smaller set like the Tumbler, right? I might buy that for that cool minifigure, okay? Because I'm only spending I'm spending $20, okay, or however much that set, 30 so bucks, right? And and I see a cool minifigure I can't get anywhere else. Like, well, I could get on Bricklink, but if I just get the set, I could get this little Tumbler as well. Why not, right? With the smaller sets, I'm like, okay, I could buy it for the minifigure, and I get the build on the side, and it saves me a trip to go onto Bricklink and whatnot and get it there. With the set, like I said, as big as some of these other sets, like the UCS Razor Crest and whatnot, I am not gonna buy that. The minifigure is a non-factor in my opinion. Okay, it is not gonna matter whether or not it has a good minifigure or not. I am gonna be buying that for the actual set, and that's the real enjoyment. It's not like seeing this tiny minifigure. It's building the set, getting the set, displaying the set. Okay, so for me personally, I do not give a single damn what minifigure is included in the set. But yeah, I know that might be a hot take. I know a lot of people, get up in arms when it's like, oh, this minifigure in a $200 set doesn't have printing on its asshole. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it's my opinion, though. You feel free to share your own. That's kind of my take on the big, on these, not the price increase, but these big expensive sets. So yeah, subscribe to all the good stuff, and go watch the 2011 film Arango. Alright, see ya. Ciao. Bye bye.